All
Mhm.
right, we are live. Hello,
We are live.
everybody. I'm excited. I'm going to find us on all my little devices, and I'm excited to be here live today, as promised, with Jen Moore. I see us now. Hello. I'm going to make us. I like to look on my phone so that I don't see the time lag. Whoops. Okay, and hopefully everyone's going to get tagged so you all will come and find us. And in the meantime, I'm excited to be here with Jen Moore, who is this week's podcast guest. I know a bunch of you have listened to the episode. I've been getting a lot of really good feedback, Jen. So thank you. A lot of people have commented on this one, how helpful it was. And I know when I teach, and I've been doing this now, not quite as long as you have, I don't think, but I've been doing it for a while. And, empathy, intuitive empathy is a topic that I think it's just so many people relate to, right? So many people identify as empaths, or they don't identify as empaths. And then someone explains to them what it is. And they're like, you just explained my whole life.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So let's do a quick little recap, and hello and welcome, Jen.
Thank you so much, Victoria. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And hi to everybody in this group. I am just delighted to be here with all of you.
Yay.
Yay.
While you're explaining to everyone what
Yeah. Do we want to start with
empaths
just the
are,
basic definition of what
let's
I
start
at
with that.
least
And I'm going to
experience an
try to tag
empath is?
everyone, which may or may
Okay.
not work.
Yeah.
Lexa was supposed to do this, but I don't think she has yet.
Okay.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. So my personal, because the thing is, the word empath has all kinds of different definitions. For one thing, it's not a clinical term. It comes out of science fiction. And depending on who you're talking to, you may get a lot of different answers. So here's mine. An empath is a being, could be a human, could be an animal, who is picking up the thoughts, the feelings, the energy, and the sensations from the world around them. And it could be any time, anywhere in the timeline. It could be from the past, it could be from the present, it could be from the future. And it also can be anywhere within the universe, that it could be something that's very local, like within your home, within your family, with your boss, at work or something. It could be your local area. It could be your national or regional area, but it could also be going into the entire planet as well as even beyond the planet. And the thing is that what I see as distinguishing empaths from people who are intuitive or psychic or mediums is that where all of these abilities are about picking up the thoughts, feelings, energy, and sensations from outside of ourselves, empaths process this information as if it's our own. We feel it, we think it, and we experience it like we're going through it. And this is the biggest challenge in my experience that many of us who are highly sensitive and empathic have to work with, because many of us grew up in family systems where we were told from the time we were really little, you're overreacting, you're taking it too personally, you're too sensitive, and
Right.
all of these things, which then has us kind of gaslit and thinking we're just making stuff up, that we're broken, that there's something wrong with us. And so, while in my experience, most empaths are also have deep intuitive and psychic abilities, when the empathic ability is not being managed effectively, and we are empaths who are basically experiencing what I call empathic overwhelm, we cannot distinguish what's ours and what's not ours. So that's the soundbite. That's the get us all on the same page here.
It's a good soundbite. And I've had people come to me for a lot of years when they first understand, like, wow, I feel what everybody feels. And there's a name for that, right? Or like, it hurts me when I watch, for me, I could never watch comedy, like slapstick comedy where people get humiliated or they get hurt, and everyone else is laughing hysterically. Yours truly is like walking out of the room, like Bugs
Mhm.
Bunny was like, to date myself a lot, Bugs Bunny was really emotionally challenging for me. Like,
I could not watch any of those loony. I could not watch any cartoons as a child because for very much the same reason. I found them very disturbing and very distressing. And Roadrunner with Coyote.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was hard stuff. It was hard. It was really
Yeah.
hard. And I think, and you may or may not relate to that too, because I think too, we've all become numbed to the violence and the pain in society. And I think that can happen too with empaths. Empaths can sometimes just turn off because
Shut it
they're
all down.
so overwhelmed by picking up what everyone else is going on that, this was me in certain periods where I would actually miss cues and miss like real obvious things because I was so overloaded all the time with picking it all up and feeling it all that I couldn't read basic social cues that a lot of people can read and tune in, because I was just, if all the channels are blasting at once, it's very hard to tune into the relevant information.
And when we are experiencing everything as if it's our own, we also sometimes can be really tone deaf with compassion,
Right.
because we are, like, I just think I have to laugh at myself when the war broke out in Ukraine, because I was watching all of these videos of people. I might have even talked about this in the podcast, but I was watching all of these people who are fleeing their homes with like their most precious possessions in a backpack on their back, and like their cat in a cat carrier and their dog on a leash. And all of a sudden I am just seeing myself walking down my road in Maine with my precious possessions and my cat in a cat carrier and my dog on a leash. And all of a sudden I'm having this experience of like feeling the terror as if it's mine.
Right.
And the thing is that it really robs us of the ability to have compassion and perspective
Yeah.
about the fact that we are safe, that we are not going through these things. And so sometimes I think as empaths, we get so overloaded with all of that information that we really do lose perspective. And
Right.
as you were saying, we miss the cues.
Right.
We kind of miss the things that are obvious. I couldn't agree more.
Right. Or we
Yeah.
may distance ourselves from it,
Yeah.
or we may, and I think a lot of people too have this conditioning that tells us that love is doing that, right? Love is, you need to feel the pain of what they're feeling because that's how you love them. I know that was my conditioning.
Oh,
And
yeah.
let's tell our audience how that cannot be further from the truth.
No kidding. Well, and my mother's version of that was that worry is the greatest form of care. Being obsessed with what's going on with somebody and worrying about them and, getting into the thick of it with them is like somehow virtuous. And yet, as you were saying, why is this the worst thing you can possibly do? You're amplifying the wrong signal.
Right.
Simply put.
And something else was taught to me recently. I've been a big recent devotee of Esther Hicks and Abraham Hicks, and Esther Hicks channels Abraham. And I think most people have heard of them, but if not,
Yeah.
drop some info in the comments. But one of the things that they said that really struck me, they gave an example of when Esther was watching years ago some documentary or some news coverage of someone having, a really terrible experience, on the other side of the globe. And it was really hurting her. It was really painful for her. And what they said was that in a way, her pain was greater than the pain of the person experiencing it, right? Because of the distance between where she was vibrating and where they were vibrating. And, this was like a light bulb moment for me, because oftentimes we feel like we need to span that gap. But really, when you're in it, when you're having your experience, you're exactly where you should be. And compassion is, and it's not that one person's experience is better or worse than anyone else. That is not what I'm saying. But that when we go into someone else's space, not only are we suffering unnecessarily, but they may not be suffering the way that we are suffering when we are suffering with them. So we are contributing more suffering to the planet than less suffering to the planet. And those our monkey minds will encourage us to contribute more suffering because suffering is love. That is just the opposite of what is the case. Self-love is to be in your light while others are suffering, while having compassion for them for sure. But compassion is not meeting their energy. Compassion is understanding we're all exactly where we should be. And then as we tune in from a self-loving place, right, and a self-honoring place, and connect with our own highest vibration and own that we're where we are because that's where we're supposed to be, then the opportunities to be of service, in the clearest, highest, most direct way, they open up for us. And, you
Yeah.
know, it's beautiful.
Well, and you said something really important here too, is that we're not necessarily even meeting them in their energy, because I do think that holding space for where somebody is at is one of the most powerful things we can do. But what we're doing is we're projecting our own assumptions and we're projecting our story into that experience. And I know, I mean, I think about, I love the words anguish and agony when it comes to our mind, because we put our mind just creates misery upon misery for ourselves. And the thing is that it is, in some ways, the projection of what that experience is going to be like is so often so much worse than the reality of the experience. I know for myself personally that I have put myself through a lot of anguish and a lot of agony, imagining what's going to happen or how I would feel going through something. When the reality of the experience happened, I was in the experience, I was moving through the experience, I was enduring the experience, I was surviving the experience, but I wasn't nearly as distressed about it mentally as I was before it happened. And so, when you were talking about Esther, talking about her anguish being greater than the anguish of the people enduring it, that makes a lot of sense to me, because when you're actually in the thick of it, your like your fight or flight or fight, flight, freeze or fly, fawn mechanisms are activated, and you're just, any of us are just trying to get through it. And in a lot of ways, we are in the lived experience. We're not in the processing of it. When I was much, much younger, I was 18 years old, and I was in a car accident on Holy Thursday. That was a pretty big accident. But when I went through the whole thing, even though it was pretty serious, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is happening. I actually handled that really well.
Yeah.
It was the experience of the stories I told myself afterwards that I really suffered with. So I do think that a lot of times it's more about the stories we tell ourselves, and especially the projections that we put onto what another person's experience is.
Which we can't know. And when we, and by the way, I'm seeing all your comments now. Hello, everybody. It was like not loading. So
All of you.
I wanna make sure that I'm attending to all these beautiful comments. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
They just weren't loading before, so we were talking to air. But yeah, no, I think that's 1,000% true. And I also think that when we're in that clear space, right, when we're listening to our intuition, when we're tuned in, when we're emotionally neutral, like that's when we can be of most service to ourselves and others, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what empaths need to learn. And we talked in the episode 2, and then I'm going to get to all these beautiful questions and comments. We talked in the episode 2 around how, empaths now are sort of, this is the way I've seen it. The real gift that many of us bring to the table is as energetic space holders for those higher vibrations. And we're in a time where these higher vibrations are coming in. And I feel like, and, Rob Schwartz, who's one of my favorite spiritual teachers, who's been on the show a couple times too. I've heard him and his wife, who is a channeler, talk about this too. But I really do feel that, empaths right now, we're at a time when, a lot of us are helping, the empaths to unplug from the pain channel and plug into the light. It's time to plug into the light. And it doesn't mean that, pain won't occasionally arise, but I don't believe it's the major force of learning on this planet moving forward. And, as the ones that are on the beginning of that wave to this new age, like you guys are the ones that can start to anchor in those higher vibrations if you accept the challenge. And it's not
absolutely. Well, and I want to talk about a little bit about the concept of hypervigilance, and about, for so many of us, I mean, my sense is that we've been in a 5,000 year retrograde as a planet, and a 5,000 year experiment where capitalism and patriarchy and empire and all of these things have really influenced our perception of the world. And we've been kind of in void and scarcity and lack and fear, as opposed to in love and abundance and divine source. And so I think a lot of people, we've been conditioned to look for the bad. We've been conditioned to be looking for the danger. We've been conditioned as empaths to be feeling for what's wrong, as opposed to be feeling for what's right. And the thing is that it takes a level of discipline, and it takes the choice to continuously walk on by all of that darkness and all of that toxicity without going into that spiritual bypassing or that light washing where we're just burying our head in the sand and pretending it's not happening. This is this incredible, like there is something, this is high level magic, because what we are doing is we're acknowledging that is a place where there are people who are enduring incredible pain and suffering. And we are choosing gratitude, we are choosing compassion, we are choosing love, and we are choosing to focus our attention on the high vibration instead of plugging into that low vibration.
Yeah.
And it does mean breaking the habit that many of us have karmically brought in, as well as ancestrally brought in, of always probing for the danger and always probing for the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And it feels, and at first, this can feel foreign and really scary if what we've been taught is that looking for the danger is the thing that will keep us safe. The irony of it is that we are at a point, we've hit a critical mass where let's just trust our intuition is going to tell us when we need to be mindful or wary of something. And instead of looking for danger, because looking for danger is actually dangerous, what we need to do is tune into the higher vibration and trust that when our intuition says, don't get in the car and go there today, or, put off that plan or that appointment for another week, whatever it is, that our intuition is going to guide us away from things that we do not want to be going into, without us having to like ping everything and probe everything and feel into all of the darkness.
Absolutely. And it doesn't really protect you anyway, because there's an infinite number of things that can go wrong, and your brain doesn't do infinity, but your soul does. And your soul is not looking for what's going to go wrong. Your soul is going to plug you in to the infinite number of things that could go right. And wouldn't you rather be playing that channel? That's how I see it. And I want to get to the questions.
Yeah.
Let's get to the questions, because
let's get to the questions. Yeah, because I can feel them.
They're
like,
really good
answer
ones.
my questions.
Yes. Okay. So let's see. Jeanette wants to know, I'm wondering if there are empaths that are destined to be support for those who are emotionally abused.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, every one of us is called to do a different piece of the work. And I actually, one of my EFT students, her specialty, she's an empath, and her specialty, she is a survivor of domestic violence herself. And her specialty is working with women coming out of domestic violence. Patti Smith, the rock goddess, rock heroine of back of the 1970s and the 80s, she said something that just landed for me back then, and I've held it my whole life. It's those who have suffered understand suffering and thereby extend their hand.
Yeah.
And that it's like, if you've been through it, if you've been through the rough stuff, if you've been through the difficult things and you've found your way to the other side, who is better at offering hope and inspiration and a new way of doing things than you, or than somebody who, so yes, I think empaths are uniquely gifted and available to help people navigate their way out of hell.
Yeah. And I agree 1,000,000%. And I would give a couple caveats though.
Yeah.
To that. Number one, you're never obligated to serve. So
ding,
always feel it.
Preach.
Yeah. Right. And so it's not a badge of thing that, because I did this and I suffered, I can't stand to let anyone else suffer similarly and I have to fix everybody. That's the time to go back in yourself, give yourself a hug, and work on that part of you that doesn't feel healed and whole and well.
Yes.
And not fixing anybody through healing, which is caveat too, right? We can be of support because, exactly as Jen said, because we've been there, because we understand it's a beautiful thing. But we also always have to respect the integrity of the other person and understand their experience is their own. And we are, support people. We are observers. We are walking on the path with you, but we are not walking on the path for you.
No, we are not rescuers. We're not here to fix. We are not here to rescue. We are here to support and facilitate. We are here to share our experience, strength, and hope, and maybe say, hey, this worked for me when nothing else did. You want to try it? But the other thing, as you were saying, is like, we're never obliged or obligated to help anybody just because they ask for it. And number two, I really want to invite everybody to look at, what are your motives? Why do you feel called to do this work? Why are you feeling? Because the thing is, and I know we said this in the podcast, we feel better when other people feel better when we have not dealt with our stuff. And so what I would say is, the other caveat I would add is, yes, empaths are really good at this. And yes, there are many empaths who are here to do this work. However, if you haven't done your own work, and if you cannot sit with a discomfort and you don't know how to hold space for pain, for despair, for fear, for anger, and for grief, if you don't know how to sit with those things within yourself, then you really should not be doing work with other people yet. Like, maybe you can be volunteering for certain things and helping and, picking up chairs and putting them down in a room or something. But, if you cannot sit with the real agony and with the real anguish, the human suffering that these human bodies go through, without it triggering you and sending you into a spiral or setting you off into a place where you're like, oh my God, I have to fix this now because this is so uncomfortable to be around it, then you got some work to do. So, as the saying goes, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Look at your motives, look at what's going on and why are you choosing to do this? And then really be honest with yourself about, how comfortable are you sitting with pain? Yeah.
I love that. And all right, I want to go through some of these comments. And friends, if you have questions, because we're going to go over to the guidance section now, and she's got her card deck. So you totally I'm going to get a card first, but so bring your questions on. If you'd like Jen to pull a card for you, you'd like to ask me something, whatever, put it on there. We are getting to that portion. But I want to, Nan loves your background and all of your cards back there. So I wanted to share that with you.
Oh, thank you, Nan. Yeah, there's
Diana
some
loved
really
your
beautiful art.
clarification. Sorry. Diana loved your clarification early on around gaslighting, and so did I. And let's see what else we got. Catherine wants to know, and we can maybe start this with the card. Sorry, Catherine can't see us, but I'm still going to try to answer her question. How can I identify my gifts, please?
So this is something I've heard people say, and it's kind of and I'm only just starting to really get it. The irony is, a lot of times what your gifts are the things you take for granted.
That's a good one.
The things that you don't even realize nobody else has. And so in some ways, it's noticing, like, it's having that self-awareness about your experience, sharing that experience with other people, and listening when people go, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. I never saw it that way. I never experienced it that way. Wow, that must have, like, when you get that feedback that your experience is unusual or different, that is often an indication that that is a gift that you have. From that, what I'll also say is that a lot of times, in my experience, we tend to have dominant sensory channels that we experience the world through. Some of us are very auditory and verbal. Some of us are very visual. Some of us are very kinetic and kinesthetic and tactile. Some of us are very gustatory, very taste oriented. You get people who are chefs who their clairs are all in taste. Right. Some people are very smell oriented, where it's all about aromatherapy and things like that. And some people are very like the claircognizance, where they just know things, or where they have like the clairsentience, where they're the empaths that feel things. Knowing how you process information in the world and the way that you process things the most easily, as you might be noticing, I'm really verbal. I process information verbally, right, first and foremost. And so I know that when I'm leaning into what I'm good at, what is easy for me, that also is a very strong indication of where my gifts lie.
Yeah. And yeah. I would piggyback on that too. I think we often think of intuition as like the five clairs and all that's great. And I know most of you guys know that stuff. But really anywhere that you're in the flow, anywhere that you are either, it's your passion and you lose yourself in it, or you're really, really good at it. That's your connection to your soul. Those are your gifts. So, watch what you love to do mostly.
Yes. What
Sometimes
brings
people
you
say,
joy?
I'm really good at doing this, but it doesn't bring me joy. Then don't do it. That's not your gift. It's what you love, what comes naturally to you, what excites you, what brings you joy, where you're in the flow, you're living your light and you're sharing your gifts. Okay?
I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to show you a really cool chart that really makes a difference for me. Okay. Really, really simple. You can see here, we've got, it's a 4 square. One side says love, the other side says hate. One side says the top says great, the bottom says suck.
Right.
Basically, what we want to be doing ultimately is everything in our life we want to have in the love and are great at section. Right. We want to be eliminating all of the things that we want to eliminate all the things that we hate and we suck at. If we love something and we suck at it, then we may want to enhance our skills and ability. And ultimately, if we are great at something, but we hate it, we might want to look at how can we delegate it out and into the world. But I love this model because it's a really good way to start taking inventory of the things. Right. And ultimately, we really want to be like, if we could possibly be living our life in love and great.
And I would also say too, sometimes great and suck are very mental concepts. And so yes, if you love something and if you feel like you're not good at it, feel into that. Feel into that because there might be, you might be better at it than you think, right?
Oh, thank you. Yes, yes, yes. And
there's an external standard out there that tells us, and I would say the same thing. If you are good at something that you don't like, don't do something you don't like, but figure out what comes naturally, because you may want to repurpose that, right? There may be a way to flow that into the love zone. So again, where we want to do is love and feeling in the flow. And feeling in the flow means we feel good about what we're creating. We love what we're creating. We feel productive. We feel powerful. It's not the case that if you love to draw and you do these doodles and your art teacher when you were 7 said your doodles are dumb and they don't look like the real thing, and now you think I'm a bad artist so I can't draw even though I love to. You see, the problem is with the art teacher and what you learn from her. The problem isn't with your doodles, my beautiful friends.
Absolutely. I actually have a friend whose daughter just submitted a story into a contest. And sadly, the story was not accepted because apparently it was a little too honest. And the thing is, this kid is an amazing writer. This kid is already like, they're a truth teller. They're somebody who has the courage to show up. They're already, I mean, they're like 12, 13 years old, and they already have the courage to show up for life. Thankfully, they have a team. There's women in their world who are already going to basically say those people are full of it, like their mother's a champion. But if this kid didn't have anybody saying, no, what you're writing is really important, is really good, the problem is these people who don't have the ability to hear it. It's not about you. But so yes, to everything you're saying.
So how about you? Lorraine has a question for me.
Okay.
I'll read it. And then you want to pick a card for Catherine, just so she gets something personal?
Yes, absolutely.
And then I'll answer Lorraine's question.
Okay, so we're going to pull a card for Catherine.
Or you have any questions? Now's your chance.
Yay. Okay, so Catherine. Is it a Catherine with a C or a K?
C.
Yep, that's what I was seeing in my head. Okay, so there we are. Even though I may still feel like I am a work in progress, I can honor my efforts and love myself anyway. So this is from a set of, it's a deck called the Empathic Mastery Oracle that I created a number of years ago. And every single one of these affirmations or statements comes from working with people. So there was total aligned 100% buy-in with all of these words. And so, Catherine, what I'm getting is that you are at a point in your life where you're hitting growing edges, like you're kind of, you're at an up leveling point. And so everything that you had that was comfortable and easy and familiar to you in the past, it's like it's kind of dropped away because you're on the verge of a really, really, really big up level and a really big shift in your life. The thing is that you are integrating and learning and expanding into something new in a way that makes it feel foreign and uncomfortable and weird right now. And as a result, it's kind of like you've lost perspective of how far you've come because of the fact that it's like you're being invited to step forward. And something, I had this amazing mentor when I was in seminary, when I was in graduate school, Jerry Hanspicker, who's no longer on the planet, but still just an amazing soul. And one of the things that he explained that really just resonated profoundly for me and has been a guiding principle for me ever since is that there is a period before integration called that where as we are learning something new, we will get confused. And the thing is, when you first start learning things, you think you understand it and you're like excited and it's wonderful and it's like, oh, this is really awesome. But then there comes a point where you start really living in it for a while and really starting to get into the journeyman stage of it, where you haven't quite hit master, but you know it enough. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I suck at this. I don't know this at all. I don't understand this. This doesn't make any sense. This is the point where many, many, many people will actually give up. This is the point where many people will be like, I'm never going to figure this out. I just better give it up. The irony of this is that confusion, this sense of like discombobulation, is the stage that precedes integration. And so instead of looking at, oh my God, I haven't got this figured out, trust that the confusion is an indication and a sign, and the self-doubt is a sign that you're actually on the right path, because you're going deep enough into the work right now that you are actually seeing, like, you're seeing your growing edges, but that's because you're working at it. So
love it.
Even though I may still feel like I'm a work in progress, I can honor my efforts and love myself anyway.
Love it. And I have nothing to add. Okay. Which is not common at all. Lorraine is asking, and I will answer first because she's saying Vic, but I invite you to chime in too. Any thoughts? And maybe there won't be any thoughts. Any thoughts coming through with the vivid dream that I had with my dad led me to a road which I drove up to and on. It was quite long and high, wondering what this is trying to tell me. That's beautiful. Is your dad passed away?
That was the first question I was going to ask too.
That's the feeling. Is it feels like someone's inviting you to a higher plane. It feels like someone's inviting you to a higher plane and to a new way of doing things. And it feels like, whether he's in his body or not, I get the sense that he's not, but even if he is in his body, it still represents the same thing. It represents being guided by a fatherly source, right, to a higher plane. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful dream. And if I'm going to feel into you a little bit more, what I get is there's always been a longing. There's always been a desire to live more fully and completely in this place. But you haven't been solidly, squarely grounded or anchored in that energy up until now. And this is an invitation. This is an invitation. And I think for you too, because I do happen to know you, it's also an invitation to sort of, because it's interesting. I want to look at it again. I'm assuming that you're driving. I don't know if you're walking. I really see a car. I really get the, you're taking what you have now there. So if there's structures, if there's things that you've built that in the past it felt like they kept you on one level, now it's like you kind of get to recreate, reinvent those on these higher planes. So that's what I get for you. I don't know if Jen gets anything or she gets a funky card, but that is all
I
I got.
so I got the sense I get is that there's a paradigm shift or a reframe around the way you look at the road, that instead of looking at the road as like, oh my God, this road is so long, I've got so far to go. This is your father showing you the world is your oyster. You have so much possibility. There are so many different directions you can go in. There is so much space and expansiveness and opportunity in front of you. And yet, when we look at the road as like this indication of like, oh, it's going to be such a slog, it can be really hard to see that length of road. And yet, the sense I'm getting is that this is also about really looking at this as an opportunity and as a blessing, as opposed to seeing it as like, oh, like really, it's going to take me this long to get there. So just really looking at it as a reframe of like, this is like, you got all this opportunity and potential in front of you now.
Beautifulness. I hope that resonates, Lorraine. We're gonna let you go. Evangeline would like a card.
Okay, Evangeline. I love the name Evangeline, just saying.
Full name. All right, and I just keep refreshing.
Okay,
All right, you ready? You got one?
I got one. I trust that as big as I get, my gifts and resources can expand to fit me.
Mm,
Yeah. And this is really about those times in our life where we're stretching into our destiny and who we are called to be, and allowing ourselves to go for the dream, to go for the thing that feels so good and so juicy and so satisfying, and trusting that when we say yes to the bigger dream, that our gifts, our skills, our tools, our resources, everything can expand to meet us, as opposed to kind of staying clenched or small. And an example of this is actually, I've seen this happen for so many entrepreneurs, especially women, especially where their business is on the verge of growing and they're starting to expand and they're kind of bursting at the seams, but they can't quite afford to hire help yet, because they are like, I'm not quite making enough money to hire the help. But if I don't hire the help, I'm not going to be able to take this up level. And what I have seen over and over again is that when we invest in the bigger dream, the universe has a way of rewarding us. When we stay clenched or in that place of like, well, I kind of have to conserve my resources here. I have to kind of protect this. I can only grow so much because I might get like, the other shoe might drop. That then what we're doing is we're reinforcing that the other shoe is going to drop. So, Evangeline, the sense that I get is, if there are things that you are feeling into, like, I could go for this big thing right now, or maybe I could play it safe and play it small. This is really saying that I can trust that as big as I get, as I go for the biggest, wildest, juiciest heart's desire and dream, my gifts and resources and opportunities not just can, but will expand to meet me and to fit me.
I love it. Will you send me that card, please?
Absolutely.
I'm rubbing that one in. That's a good one. Lorraine, no, Lorraine got a card already.
Mhm. Well, Lorraine got an answer.
Jeanette would like a card. And yes, and then Nan.
Okay. Okay, Jeanette, there you are. My inherent worth is simply because I am a being of this earth. I live in alignment with the natural rhythms of time, and I trust the ground to hold me. So, first off, Jeanette, this is a time in your life where simply letting yourself be is enough. And you don't have to prove anything to anybody. You don't owe anything to anybody. you are worthy simply by being a cell in the body of this earth. And as you really give yourself permission to live in alignment with the natural rhythms of time and really ground, like really tune into gravity, let yourself feel how you are held and supported by this earth. The earth the, is I mean, our mother, Gaia, she is conscious of all of us. She rises up to meet us. She is holding and supporting us, and we can let ourselves be held and supported, as opposed to thinking it's our responsibility to carry the burdens. She cannot tell the difference between whether we're carrying the suitcase of trouble or whether we put it down, because it weighs the same to her. We might as well put it down. And I also just keep getting this message about give yourself permission to honor the rhythms of your body and rest more. Let yourself take quiet, let yourself take space, honor what you are needing right now, and trust in the cycle that in the same way that if, assuming you are in the northern hemisphere, we are in winter right now. This is the fallow period. This is the hibernation period. This is the period of stillness and quiet. This is the period where the seed is sort of dreaming itself into what it can be. This is not the time of planting seeds. This is not the time of sprouting. This is not the time of sending up shoots or branches and flowers and fruits. This is the time of giving ourselves permission to simply be and trusting in the rhythm of the nature of things. And we're living in a culture that it's all harvest. It's like growth and harvest 24/7 now, but that's not how nature works. And when we can trust that if we take downtime, it is temporary, and it will fuel, it nourishes us so that when it is actually time to grow, we take quantum leaps, as opposed to these kind of like herky jerky, come here, go away motions. So
I want to add something on this one. So, and we're going to we have a few more people. We don't have a lot of time. So
okay, I'll move as fast as I can.
Tighten. Yep. Tighten our answers, because I want to get to as many people as we can, but I want to add with you, Jeanette, because it comes through, your question earlier, I was feeling into the answer that she's giving you now. Sometimes, we are looking for our value and worth and how we can be of service to others, not recognizing that a lot of times the real call to service is to you. And when we serve ourselves, that is the deepest level of service, especially for someone like you who has given so much already. You've given so much already. And so the balance means it needs to come back to you. And that is the biggest service that you can offer in this world right now. And, vicariously, it will be very, very fruitful and helpful for others, but please don't do it for that reason.
Yes. Word. Okay, so Nan is the next person.
Now Nan said that it was the last card was a great card for her as well. So Nan, I'm gonna let you drink that in. If you need another one, you can ask us, but I'm gonna go on to Julia. And it's good to see all of you guys on the live. And so hello to all of you, but Julia, it's especially good to see you because it's been so long. So Julia would please like a card.
Okay, I can take a break. I know that I work my ass off and I deserve to play and recharge, which also feels like it's for Nan as well. Yeah. I can take a break. I know that I work my ass off and I deserve to play and recharge. And so I'm just really, Julia, any of those voices that are telling you that you are not doing enough, that you have not shown it up enough, that somehow you still have to do a little bit more, I don't get the sense that those are originally yours. It really feels to me that those are old tapes, and that, and yet the irony is, by taking a break and noticing those old tapes that come up, it will give you the opportunity to identify where they're coming from and to shift them, to address them, to clear them, so that you really can play and recharge.
I love that. I'm not going to add anything to that, Julia. But I'm interested to see how that one lands with you, my beautiful friends. All right, we have a specific question. We'll take maybe two more, and then I want to wrap up and share some other stuff with people. Tina asks, is advocating for my family help? She has two questions, but this is the one I feel drawn to. Is advocating for my family helping or hurting them? Is advocating for my family
The
helping?
immediate answer I heard was it depends on how you advocate for them.
When I feel into her energy, and I'm not there, but I feel into their energy, there's a little bit of a frenetic energy
Yeah.
around advocating. And so advocating might not be advocating. Advocating might be running around in circles, trying to please a lot of different people all at once, which is not really what advocating means. And I think you're making yourself very, very tired trying to fight a battle that's not yours. But that said, I do think that there may be things to be done, which is what Jen was picking up on, but maybe not from the current energy in which you're approaching them.
Yes, 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 yes. And I just pulled a card for it. Really interesting. Since I can accept love and support from my higher power and loved ones, I can take all the time I need to discern if someone or something is ideal for me. And so, like breaking away from the urgency and trusting that, and this is something I live by. This person, these people have a higher power in their life. And while you may be a part of it, you are not it. And I think it's just so incredibly important to remember that we all have a higher power, that we all have divine source, that we all have the love and support that we need to get through things. And so we can drop that urgency to rush into rescue about a situation and instead take time to discern, what do I really need to be doing about this?
Amen. Amen. That couldn't have been a more perfect card. We're going to answer a couple more questions if there are, so don't forget, but I want to give you guys a little bit of information before we all hop off. I want to let you guys, first of all, know you have to listen to this episode. It was amazing. It was a wisdom bomb. We talked about a lot of things that we didn't talk about today. So definitely check it out. I'm sure that Lexi dropped the link in here somewhere. So look for it, or, hopefully y'all listen anyway, but check it out. It's not to be missed.
And Victoria and I had an amazing conversation on my show, which is going to be coming out it's going to be coming out, I think, I can't remember the exact date, but it's coming out sometime later in spring, early, like later in spring or possibly and oh my God, you guys, we actually case study and workshop a situation that it's so good. So, over at the Empathic Mastery Show, it's empathicmasteryshow.com. You can check that out too, now that I'm part of this group, I can also, if it's okay to share the link once it goes live, or you can share it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I want to link back to Julia. I want to tell you, I'm going to do a bunch of stuff that will link back to Julia. Julia, I see you. I will not forget. So the other thing I want to let people know, there's going to be a little bit of a change in structure and how we do things around here. Facebook has been real glitchy to work with. I will still do these lives. I will still pop on, probably not for 49 minutes. But if you like this, if you like checking in with the guests, if you like getting these group readings by me, and especially in a slightly more private framework. Starting in April, I am launching my new Intuitive Connection Premier Community, a monthly community. You're going to get 2 90-minute sessions every month where we're going to talk about the topics in the podcast. I'm going to do group readings. So you'll get lots of fun guidance. There's going to be some emails with tools and things. So it's a whole new jam. Check it out. If you book a session with me this month, you are automatically entered for April to give it a try. So that's a freebie, or the first 20 people that sign up get a 30% discount, which is I think it's under $40 a month. So it's not really bad. You can start and stop anytime. So I want to put that out there. I love doing these group readings. I love being here for all of you. I also like paying my bills. So, but also I do think it's going to be a way to have that real intimate community. So many people that join this group really want that community aspect. And so I think it's just going to take things to the next level. And we will have our beautiful guests like Jen pop on too. And we will still do these lives from time to time. So this is not going away. I love this group. I will still be feeding her. But this is an opportunity to get more one-on-one guidance or more group guidance from me in a slightly more private setting for a longer period of time without, having to break the bank and have a whole session, or maybe in addition to having regular sessions for some of you that do that. So that is coming up. I'll have that information somewhere. You've probably seen it floating around. I can't think of what else. Jen, tell everybody about how to find you. And Julia's asking, and this links right into that. Julia says that card resonates so much. Thank you. Much needed. Is it possible to have the full saying on the card written out somewhere?
I was planning on taking photographs of all of the cards and sharing them in the comment section of this live video. So that way you can see all of the cards and that will all be there. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say also that, one of the things about Facebook is that we are not in charge of, we don't own Facebook. Yeah. And therefore, I know way too many people who got sent to Facebook jail and, for no reason, for no fault, at no fault of their own. And so moving away from the glitchiness of Facebook to a place where Victoria and you create an impeccable container. Yeah. Just think about how much further you guys are going to be able to soar in a closed, safe container that doesn't have any of the weirdness of the algorithms or the energy of Facebook. So just saying.
And I still love it here. I will still play, but yeah, I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's time.
And I'm excited too, because the podcast, and you're a podcaster too, so this. When you do a podcast, it's you put it out there and then it sits out there and it's great. And I know, and I get feedback from people all the time. I'm sure you do too. I get feedback from my clients that say like, I listen to your podcast and blah, blah, blah. But this is an opportunity for us to really dance with the material a little bit more. I find my episode that's coming out next week, I was just talking to a friend and she was reminding me of something that I know about how life works. And I was saying, thank you so much for the reminder. And by the way, next week, that's the topic of my podcast. And it happens for me so much, even with my very awesome show, that like what I need to hear is what, and so, and entering into this kind of agreement, right? We're entering into that beautiful container where, it will teach you even more. It will teach you even more. So I hope that some of you guys will join me there. I'm assuming too, Jen, that your cards are for sale if people want them.
They are. There's a very, I think the link is live, is empathicmasteryoracle.com. And, as you were saying, how do people get in touch with me? It's really simple. Empathicmastery.com is kind of the mother of all of it. But if you want the book, it's empathicmasterybook.com, which at this point is a 3-time award-winning book. And so empathicmasterybook.com will take you to all the books that I've been either a part of or that I've written. And then empathicmasteryshow.com will take you to my podcast where I interview empaths every single week. There's a new empath on the show talking about, what it means to be highly sensitive and how it impacts all aspects of our life. And then the story of their transformation and how they're rocking it in the world, because pretty much every empath that's on my show is somebody who's thriving now. So it's very inspiring. It's very exciting. Victoria is going to be on very soon. And you guys, it is a not to miss episode.
Thank you. It was really fun. It's been a joy to play with you. And the last comment we have is from Jeanette, who says, I love this comment. I'd love to see you, Jen, at I would love to see Jen at your retreat space at Cactus Blossom Retreat. So consider that an invitation to you, Jen. I would love to have you come and offer a retreat there. Maybe we can play empath together. Play empath retreat teaching.
Yeah.
I'd love to play empath. We both have that one going on already. Exactly. And that also reminds me too, friends, if you sign up, when you sign up for the Intuitive Connection Premier Community, you also get an invite to our yearly Premier Community Retreat at Cactus Blossom. And who knows what might be happening with that. There is an additional charge. It is not included in the price of membership, but the invitation is. So you get that too. And we're going to be having a lot of fun. But Jen, I would love to have you over at Cactus Blossom to do a retreat. I hope
that sounds delicious. That sounds delicious.
And Matt, I hope that means that you're going to come, because you are most splendidly invited to come join us soon too. And I don't talk about Cactus Blossom a lot on Victoria Shaw intuitive email list. So if you want to learn more about the stuff that's happening here live in San Diego at Cactus Blossom, please get on that emailing list, which you can find the website for that is cactusblossomretreat.com. I'll try to have a link and go and sign up there, because I don't like to spam people that ask for one thing with something else. Even though they're very aligned purposes and missions. So if you want to learn more specifically about Cactus Blossom, I don't always post it on my very irregular emails that go out from victoriashawintuitive.com. So that's all I got. You guys, this has been amazing. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Jen, for agreeing to play with me yet again.
Oh, Victoria, thank you so much for having me.
Fun. And yeah, and I will see you all again when I see you all again. And thank you for being part of this group.